Okay, everybody, we are back. Coffee Break with Coachman, powered by the Best Practices Show. And I have another special guest for the interview today. So I hope everybody will enjoy our next 1-hour program with my dear friend, Professor Rajiv Verma from Mumbai, India, all the way from the other side of the world. One of the most renowned dentist professors in that country, one of the biggest countries in the world, one of the most exciting countries in the world. There's so much going on in that country. I want to learn more about what is going on in India, what is going on in the dental business in India, what is going on with digital dentistry in India. Just for people to understand, for example, the DSD app, for example, that is a big hit now, growing like crazy, thousands and thousands of users today. The whole development team of the DSD app is coordinated by Ralph George in Miami, but the whole team is actually in India. So many companies doing what we are doing, so many smart people in India. And I want to understand what is going on in India with my dear friend that I know for so many years. Before I introduce Rajiv, I want everybody that is here with us, including Rajiv, to share this interview so more people will be able to watch. So if you enjoy our program, please go to your share button, and I'm going to do that right now. Go to the share button. That's me over there, live. Click on share and share now public. So now all your friends will be able to watch this interview. I'm going to share as well on my fan page. And hopefully our team already shared on the DSD page. Let me check before we proceed. So everybody is ready to go.
Christian?
Yes. Yep.
It's still not showing live on my this thing. This is still the same image.
Yeah, I just have to reinitiate. You just have to refresh.
Go back.
Just pull down and let the page refresh. Did you click share?
So I just refreshed it. There we go.
And you should be seeing us.
Yes, we should be seen. Perfect. And there we go. Share.
Yeah. It's there. It's playing already. Okay. So just turn your phone and let's start, Rajiv. So let's bring Rajiv. Let's bring Rajiv live. Dear friend, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for opening your busy schedule for us. I know you're actually in vacation, so I'm sorry we are interrupting your relaxation moment over there. I hope your dear wife, Meenakshi, will forgive me for that. But please introduce yourself. The whole world is watching your live.
Good morning, everybody. As Christian said, I'm on a vacation. I'm sitting in Johnson City, Tennessee, in my sister's house. And don't worry, Christian, my wife Meenakshi is not with me because she is in San Francisco. Actually, I wake her up just now and tell her I'm going live, so you better watch it.
I'm not sure if she's going to enjoy or watch us.
No, she will enjoy. She may not watch me, but she will definitely enjoy you. That's for sure.
Great.
I am sitting free, absolutely idle, nothing to do. I had 2 weeks off in Houston with Arun, if you remember him.
Yes.
Like my son. And then I am here now for 2 weeks, and then to New York, Baltimore, and all the places.
Perfect. So what I want to do first, Rajiv, so people understand who is Rajiv Verma, I want you to give us a quick background, a quick summary of who you are professionally and your achievements and your education and so on.
Good. So going backwards on your question, I am, of course, a dentist. People call me in India a dentist and an artist. Both, because I'm a dentist. I am not a qualified dental technician, but I am a ceramist because I've been doing this ceramic work for the last 25 plus years now and taking these courses at different parts of the world. I am a speaker, so I give lectures at conferences across India and in Southeast Asia. And that's it, I think, all three circles of dentistry: doing clinical dentistry, doing dental laboratory work, and as a speaker at conferences and giving courses and lectures and everything else. So this year I completed 32 years of practice. So that was one dental age, I call it, exact 32 years. And it was absolutely fun. All these years in dentistry were truly, truly fun, hardworking, no doubt about it. And another 5, 6 years or 10 years, maybe 15 years, I shall enjoy this. That's for sure.
And you told me that initially you wanted to be a physician, but
my God,
something happened.
You hit the bullet into every Indian's brain. In India, the story, I'm sure I heard Marcelo that day, and I think it could be quite close to what is in Brazil. We have education system which is up to 12th grade. So 10th is up to school and 11th and 12th in college. And in India, typically, everybody aspires for either two of the lines. If they do not go on to the commerce or the arts side, they aspire for either medicine or engineering. So I was also similar, absolutely no difference. I had applied for my medicine degree, but then, this is one huge populated country. For every 1 mark, there are more than 400 aspiring students. So I just missed my admission to the medical side. Can you believe 0.33 of a mark? And
Wow.
that's it. So the next step, it's interesting. So the next option which remains in India is dentistry, because if I wouldn't take dentistry, the ladder goes further down to pharmacy and then physiotherapy and, the other branches of medicine. So I think dentistry, I selected. No regrets today, but trust me, the day I entered dental college, oh my God.
You were not happy.
Not happy. I actually wanted to run away in a month's time and probably get out of the college in a year's time. That was for sure. Putting my 10 fingers into somebody's mouth was itself a big no-no.
And how long it took for you to fall in love with dentistry, and what made you fall in love with dentistry?
I think third year of dentistry, when the clinical work started, and we started doing our first extraction, our first amalgam filling, everything first in life. And that I guess was the experience which I probably wanted. The first 2 years troubled me because it's all theory and modulus of elasticity and coefficient of thermal expansion and mega rascal. Oh my God, that really, really troubled me, And I wanted to leave all this maths behind. So I was in medicine and here I come and get these figures again. So first 2 years, really, really pathetic. But third year, clinical. And I think, a practically oriented man. Today also, if you really ask me what is the definition of chamfer, I don't know. You ask me, show me how to do a chamfer, well, give me a minute and I shall show it to you. So completely practical. So third year onwards, I think life changed in dentistry.
So similar story to me, because it took me also third, fourth year of dental school to find myself in dentistry. First and second year I was desperate. I was 100% sure it was not for me, the profession. So similar situation.
Can't believe, because you come from a legendary family. I mean, it is infused in you. You should be not taking any other option, ideally.
I didn't. I insisted, and I was able to find myself in the profession. Very good. But there's another passion of yours is education. How that started? Why you decided that you wanted to teach people? Because I think that's one of your mottos.
Yes. Doing dentistry, I passed out in the year 1985 and then started, as usual, worked with a senior dentist and then started my own clinic practice in a very small place, and then went ahead. And then I had a childhood hobby of photography, so I had this DSLR camera of my father, which I was using. I just had to buy 190 I think, Tamron lens at that time. And I used to click every case of mine, whether it's absolutely bullshit. It was like the learning phase. You can imagine how the picture quality would be and everything. But slowly the armamentarium started building up. And I remember those days we had films, so no digital dentistry. And I used to buy these films with the exposure of, I think, 35, 36 and print and make these slides. Slowly, some young dentists started coming to me and were observing me how to work. And in that one young dentist actually told me, Rajiv, you have more than 10,000 slides with you. I think you need to start teaching. Okay.
You better start sharing. Yeah.
Start sharing. Are you mad? I have never ever spoken in public. You won't believe, Christian, I am a shy guy. I am a thorough introvert. If you throw me in a party, I wouldn't talk to more than 2 people. And here he comes and tells me, I'm inviting you at a state conference, and people should hear you. And
how old were you?
Oh, I was that time 1997, 10 years into practice. Correct. Yes, 10 years into practice, and was amongst the pioneer in porcelain veneers. So my first lecture was at a state conference in our state of Maharashtra in India. And I did a live porcelain veneer patient and a live bonding, in the afternoon session on another patient. And I think that boosted my confidence because that was really well received, very well received.
That's quite pioneering in the 90s to do live veneer lecture with live patient courses. I'm sure at that time, I remember here in Brazil, my father and my uncle were among the first ones to do that live. That is beginning of the 90s as well. They did a conference with live transmission and live patient prep and bond, and everybody was blown away. So I can imagine that that generated a lot of buzz, a lot of noise around your name that made you share with me some of the numbers. You have the amount of lectures you gave in India. In India, it's like China, right? Everything is huge. Every number is huge, So share with me the extension of lecturing that you did in India, your programs, your students, the tours that you do around India. Because I travel around the world, but in India, it's a whole world inside the country, right?
All the Indian dentists who are watching this program just now live, they know me very well, what probably I may show now. I am still the old generation man. This is my timetable from April 2018.
This is your tablet. That's your tablet.
March 2019. And it's
Rajiv, there's one thing. You know this here. There's this on your phone. There's a thing called notes. You can make
it's the copy of it is here. The copy of it is here. Don't worry.
But you know that every this is interesting. Lately, every super smart person that I met, business people, pioneers, entrepreneurs, they all had an old school booklet and a pencil to make notes.
Perfect. So I'm one of them for sure.
So I admire the ones that do analog notes.
Yes, analog as well as digital. And this has to be kept, because if I get a call, yesterday evening I got a call, I need your date for December 2018, which unfortunately is not available. So life is on. I mean, this year I finished more than 800 plus lectures in India, Bangladesh, Malaysia, Thailand, this part of the world, and plus my more than 251 hands-on programs, which I just started for fun in 2002. Trust me, because one friend of mine, Dr. Anish, he's an endodontist. He said, you need to start taking courses. And I just said, are you mad? And it just went on and on. People are loving it. They love me. I think more than the course, they love me. And that's why the course is still on and on and on.
Oh, it's amazing. The following you have there, every Indian doctor that I meet all over the world, they all know you. And they all respect you. They talk about you with pride and with happiness. So it's an amazing achievement to be really unanimous. There's no doubt. Really, really amazing. So for me to know you, I think that's the best entrance in your country in the dental field. For me, it's an honor and to have met you and to have entered India with your endorsement, with your support. That's probably why DSD has grown so much in India, and we have so many followers in India, and we always have people from India coming to our courses. Now, another passion you already mentioned, besides dentistry, is lab work. You're also a technician, so like me, dentist, technician. When did you? Why you started with lab work? When did you started to really sit in a dental lab bench and do things with your own hands?
That's an amazing, interesting story. Way back in 1990s, early, the trend in India was to have two dental clinics, you know. So you have one clinic here and you cater in some other area. I attempted that, but I failed because of some issues with the premises. So I had little money in my pocket and hard-earned money. In Indian rupees, it's just called 1 lakh rupees in 1990. And I just went to one dealer. I can never forget, that's Dr. NK Doctor. And I told him I want to buy a Vita furnace. So he says, do you know what it is? I said, yes, I think it bakes ceramics. So I said, do you know how to do work with it? He said, I don't know anything, I said. So he said, are you sure you want to do this? I said, yes, I would love to do it. And he promised me that he will send me to Germany in Bad Säckingen, Vita, and he will give me a free course with the machine. And then he, of course, fulfilled his promise. Thank you, NK, for that. And then I fly to Germany. I do this course. I come back. And way back, I started doing this veneers on refractory dye material in 1991. And thanks to one other great friend and a big dentist of India, Dr. Sandesh Mayekar, he introduced me to Jeffrey Golub Evans and John Calamia in 1991. And from John, I learned how to bake this porcelain veneers. And they both came to India, way back. And that was my lucky day, I suppose.
So you know John Calamia from NYU, right?
Yes.
Great guy. I was with him several times at NYU. That's a great start in ceramics. These guys, they know what they were doing. That's 1991. I was 16. I was 17. I was playing tennis far away from dentistry. And you were already doing veneers. Another passion of yours is dentures. I remember at the beginning when I met you, I saw many very interesting programs you were doing on dentures. I know that in India is a huge market for dentures, but all over the world, I think not only the fact of providing people with dentures, but understanding dentures for me is one of the most important things to make a dentist become a smile designer, to make a dentist become a rehabilitator. We need to understand the principles of dentures from A to Z, even if we will never do a denture in our lives, only veneers or crowns or implant prosthesis. I always teach the basics of dentures because I think it was a problem for me when I realized that I knew very little about dentures. So what is your relationship with dentures? How you started your courses? I know you have a relationship with Ivoclar as well because of the dentures, right?
We had. So I probably, in dentistry, in all these subjects, I probably loved prosthetics, So more than I think the hard tissue, I loved this soft tissue making dentures, right, as a student, hopefully. And then it just went on and went on till 2000, I think. Yes, that's where me and my wife, Meenakshi, who is an endodontist, we both flew to Ivoclar and we did the BPS program, the Biofunctional Prosthetic System. And it was very simplified for us. And it was, I think, one of the finest programs in making dentures. And then you won't believe, I even purchased the laboratory equipment to manufacture dentures in my own lab, which was actually doing only porcelain veneer work. And I fell in love with it. And it was so easy, much easier than the conventional procedure. And since 2002, nonstop, we had been doing it. I eventually gave it up in 2012 because now in India, things are changing. I would recommend implant-supported dentures rather than spending hours on making the lower denture. So in my practice, it was like with an upper denture, we used to give a lower denture free of cost. Because I believe that even if some god dentist had to make a denture in another god's mouth, The lower denture would be the toughest one. Even the BPS system may not help every time, So as implants picked up in India, which is a huge market today, I think I would recommend these days dentures which are supported by implants. That's for sure. But amazing, I loved it.
Yeah. But the principles are still the same. If
remain the same.
If you're gonna place, I think, an edentulous patient or a patient that needs full extractions, if you're gonna go towards a removable denture, or if you're gonna place implants and support the prosthesis on implants, the principles of facial analysis, vertical dimension, intermaxillary relationship, bite registration, smile design, lip dynamics, 3D planning, everything is the same, all the way to the point that you need to link that design to the existing ridge, to the existing bone. And at that moment, you can pick, I want to design a removable one, or I want to place implants and support that with implants. So I think it's so important, more and more people teaching young students about the principles of dentures. And I always mention that, and I always suggest to all my students to read maybe an article that you probably know, that for me is one of the most beautiful articles in dentistry, in aesthetic dentistry, restorative dentistry, the article from Richard Lombardi from 1973, The Visual Principles of Aesthetic Dentistry. For me, I usually call this article the birth of smile design. And the guy was in 73 talking specifically about dentures, but when you read the article, you see that is for absolutely everything.
Everything. Perfect. And so before you go ahead, have a sip of coffee.
Yeah. I have to order my.
I have to have coffee in this special mug.
Oh. I want one of those. I don't even have that. Look at, we need one of those.
This is for you. As of now, it's empty, and I've kept it for you. When I meet you in September in the DSD residency in Madrid, you get this gift from me.
You're the best. You're the best. That's so cool. I need a picture of this. We need to post a picture. David, I know David from my team is watching. David, You see, Rajiv is fast, man. We need to do that immediately. And ship. We need to ship one of those to everybody that already was interviewed by us.
I wanted to ship this to you. So we went to FedEx in Mumbai. The cost of the mug in Indian rupees is 100. And the cost of shipping this to Sao Paulo, they told me 10,000. So I said, I think I'll meet Christian in Madrid and hand it over to him. Okay. I can make mugs for all best practices showing that much money.
Fantastic.
Nice.
That's super cool. I love it. So since you showed a mug with my picture, I want you to share with us here the story of why you decided many years ago to attend a DSD course. You were already a successful doctor, lecturing all over, very stable, great dental office. You were around 50 years old already,
56.
50. And then you decided to move things around and enter the digital world and understand digital smile design. How was that?
So the story starts way back in 1991 when I started doing my veneers, and then the lab picked up actually, and everybody started sending work to my lab for veneers. And way back from say 1994 onwards, many doctors treated my lab as a very special lab for creating special smiles for the Bollywood industry of India. Bollywood is equivalent of Hollywood in India. So for the stars, the film stars, and so on, and who's who of India, and our lab was the preferred lab. And then the story started. You made this veneer for somebody in India, a big film star, and then there comes a mirror in the hand, and he looks into the mirror, and he says, I think this has become slightly longer. Can you reduce it a bit? And then there I go, or the doctor whose patient it is, say Dr. Mayekar, he would say, Rajiv, can you reduce it a bit? And then when I reduce it a bit and you put those veneers back in the mouth, the reaction of the doctor would be, oh my God, I think we reduced it a bit more. And So
The
this
back
is
and
where
forth that
the
we all know.
transition happened with you.
Yeah.
You came to India in 2011 February at a IIDC conference in Worli, and I still remember you gave a lecture, and the title of the lecture was not DSD, by the way. That was one amazing, complicated, interdisciplinary something, 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 and something, something, something title. I was in the audience, like another 400 of them at least. You started speaking. In 1 hour, I was completely connected with you because you spoke in that first 1 hour about how a smile is perceived by different people. So the dentist looks at the smile with his science. The
Yeah.
dental laboratory guy who doesn't see the patient and works only on the cast with maybe photographs on the laptop screen, and
Mhm.
he creates it.
Yeah.
That is the main person, the patient, who holds the mirror. The most dreadful thing which I learned from Christian Coachman, friends in India and all over the world, whoever has a hand mirror in his clinic, please throw it immediately in the nearest garbage can. I remember that line of yours. This was the problem. And the fourth was the patient's friend, relative, especially in India, the film star's mother, because the mothers were used to seeing their daughters the way they are, and suddenly a new change and they wouldn't like it.
Yeah.
This was frustrating to me as a dental technician, as a ceramist, because all the hard work happened at the back end. I remember for one film star doing 9 sets of veneers. That's 90 veneers.
Yeah.
Okay. In the
Yeah.
process, the doctor lost his brain, I lost my brain. And in the end of the 90th veneer, the patient had guts to tell me, I think the first set what you made was the most beautiful set. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And there you come in my life exactly at that time. And it hit me so hard. I said, I need to follow you. You may not be knowing also this. That night, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep. And I remember during lunchtime, I was standing outside and we were all having lunch. You were, of course, completely surrounded by the most beautiful girls and women of India. You were the James Bond of the day. So we couldn't meet you. I couldn't shake hands with you, nothing. What I grabbed out of your slide is your number and your email ID. I went home at 11:15 India time in the night. I sent an email to your office. In 15 minutes, I think because it's Brazil morning time, I receive a mail from Maria Chantal. Okay. And I read the mail. And my question to your office was, I love this program. I want to learn more. Does Christian take any courses? So I get a reply, no course as yet. Whenever it is in future, we'll let you know. And your office replied back after a few months that there is a course in Florence, Italy at Andrea Ricci's clinic.
That's when I started the partnership with Andrea Ricci.
And there I was. I was with my PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Oh,
So that was I was 2012.
2012 October.
Yeah. So I started the collaboration with Andrea Ricci, and we organized the first DSD courses outside Brazil. I think was 2010. So that was the second year that we were doing the courses.
If I'm not mistaken, this was the first English course.
Yeah.
Because the Brazil courses I think were in Portuguese.
Yeah, all the courses in Brazil were in Portuguese, so difficult for you.
Impossible for us.
Yeah, that's a great story. I still remember that lecture was my first trip to India, 2011. Huge crowd, and that was the beginning of the concept. And as you said, trying to link the patient's desires, emotional desires, to the initial project, create a test drive, be able to approve that test drive, and then create strategies to move from the test drive to the final restorations, everything analog, right? But creating a system to try to minimize the errors between the project and the final design from the aesthetic standpoint, because as you mentioned, we waste so much time adjusting things in the restorative world, back and forth. As I usually say, without digital, until recently in dentistry, the patient's mouth was the laboratory. We would test everything in the patient's mouth. And then
happens on the cast.
Yes. So, and then that whole emotional experience of the patient trying to understand and asking for changes. And for me, I always thought that we could try to find a better solution. That's the reason we started with PowerPoint and Keynote, all the drawings, the key reason why I invented that little yellow digital ruler, right? And the caliper, and trying to guide the wax-ups, right? Trying to guide the wax-ups, and then creating all the guides to move from wax-ups to ceramics. And for many years, that was the workflow before we entered the 3D digital world. But I was, for many years, very happy to see that the system, the DSD, we call it today the classic DSD, right? Pictures, Keynote, PowerPoint, digital ruler, caliper, wax up, silicone indexes, mock-up, test drive, preps, impressions, models, silicone indexes, final restorations. Still a lot of room for errors, but already a little bit better in terms of bringing facial references.
Much better. At least those four people, the doctor, the technician, the patient, and the patient's family or mother, they were all came on one plane, you know, because they could now visualize it, and it cannot be better than this. You know, it is almost good.
Yeah, and I can understand that.
Changed my life at the age of 50. Can you believe that?
And as you said, you know, working with celebrities in Bollywood actors and actresses, I can imagine how demanding and how much pressure you were going through.
High stress, to be very frank, highly stressful. All the doctors who send me these patients, Dr. Mayekar, Dr. Dabolkar, Dr. Gadkari, and so many of them, they all know that it was hard work. That's definitely. It was hard work for them also and for us also.
And that's maybe why, and I know this is I would say a tough topic, but you told me that, you know, in 2007 you had a big health problem, maybe because of all the stress and other things. But I think it's interesting to share with people, first, that life is not always going up. Second, we need to understand how to go through tough moments. And if you can explain to us a little bit of this moment and how this changed your life.
So let me put it this way. I'm sure all over the world the story is same, but in India it is like this. A boy needs to stand on his 2 feet to get 2 more feet in his life, you know. So the concept of boy standing on his 2 feet after his graduation, post-graduation education is complete means he should be starting to earn money. You know, once he starts money, then he can get his spouse. So in that case, for a boy, came Meenakshi in my life. So now we have 4 legs, 2 stomachs, and life goes on in the direction of earning money. Then these 4 legs together intermingle and produce 2 more legs, you know. So that's how my elder daughter Neha was born. And then we had 3 stomachs. And then, you know, in 3 years' time in India, you need to have a brother or a sister. And in that story came my second daughter, Aarti, in 1993. So now I have 4 stomachs to fill, you know, so 4 stomachs, 4 schoolings, 4 everything. So life went in a direction which I'm sure every Indian will relate to this point of mine. Our brain automatically goes into the mode of earning money. You know, it only thinks about how to pay the monthly EMI, how to, you know, go through the house expenses and all not, plus the expansion in the business. Yes. So it went on and on and on. And as you said, life was like a graph which was going up, 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 up. In 2007, January, I think 6th or 7th it was, I was giving a lecture in the national conference in India in Pune. And I was talking about shade taking, because that time this complicated 3D master shade guide, the honeycomb, you know, guide came on the market, and I developed a formula for that. And I was giving that lecture and I started perspiring heavily. I mean, some of the people sitting in the first few rows actually said, we could see your inner garments through your clothes, you know, that much you were perspiring. And I had this terrific pain in my back for around 20 seconds. It just came, went off. I was talking, I had a sip of water. I continued for the lecture for another maybe half an hour or so, finished happily, went out. And there one young Dr. Shardul from Pune, he said, sir, I think you had a massive cardiac problem. I said, are you joking? He said, no, sir, my uncle is a cardiologist and we need to show him immediately. And he just bumped me into the car, and me and Meenakshi, and he went to the doctor, and he said, God, you are alive. It's a miracle. You would have gone for a toss within another 5 to 10 seconds. So I think you need to get admitted instantly, and you need to get operated instantly. So there I am lying in a bed for 11 hours, I think, under
Same
anesthesia.
day. Same day.
Oh, same day they took me from Pune to Mumbai to the best heart hospital, Asian Heart, and under the renowned Dr. Panda, Ramakant Panda, who was the heart surgeon for the President of India, to his hospital, and they admitted me. Oh, same day they did not perform because I have to deposit money, you know. So they put me on medicines for 2 days, and the moment my wife deposited the money,
You need to operate immediately, but first you need to pay.
yes. So then they opened me up, and then they did it. Okay, that was not a great deal. The surgery went well. The best part about the story was 6 months after that, I was in bed, because this was a big surgery. So I advised at least for 3 months bed rest. And I extended the bed rest to 6 months. Every day, mornings and evenings, looking at that ceiling fan, which is rotating, it just made me think, and think, because 1987, that's where I started my practice. 97, I became a speaker and a technician I was. 2007, and here I am looking at the ceiling and the fan is revolving, and then suddenly things flashed. What am I doing it for? Is it the race to earn the money? Is it to, look after the family? Or what's exactly happening? So one day I remember having a discussion with Dr. Panda's associate doctor, cardiologist. And he sat with me with a pen and paper and said, you need to make 2 columns, professional and personal. And you need to start writing what gives you maximum stress. So I started with my personal, and the first one, of course, the whole world will surely write it has to be the wife. So I said wife, and he immediately took his red pen and he striked it off. He said, this is the only thing which you have to learn to live with, and strike her off.
Everything else.
And change her, and then children, and then father, and then mother, and then friends. And the other side was very interesting. The second side, the first thing I wrote was dental laboratory, high stress job. Yes. And after that was clinical work. The last was speaker. No, that was absolutely fun. And that's where he looked at me, just said, why are you doing all this now? There is no need to. Still, trust me, Christian, it took me 5 years because the lab was making business. It had a great amount of profit. There was fun treating these celebrities. I never realized that this is stress creation. It took me 5 years. In 2012, 31st of December, I suddenly shut shop the lab. I said, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm going to concentrate only on what my cardiologist has suggested, And that's where the third phase of life went into bloom, and that was becoming a speaker. So that's what I was doing earlier. But then now the last phase, I could say, of my life in the remaining years, I would love to only give in life, not take anything, So life is in full-on give mode now. Every weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whoever comes, it's only give, give, give. And that's a message to everybody. This running behind something was worthless. Yeah. So actually, this is my second life. Yeah. And I think I deserve, and I should give, others deserve my services, I feel, So even DSD, I am learning DSD at this age. I first met you when I was literally 49, 50. This year, I've already booked 10 days with you, if you remember. DSD Residency 1, I'm coming for 4 days, DSD Residency 2, 4 days, and DSD Instructors Program 2 days. So many of these dentists in India ask me, sir, why are you doing this? Because you're hardly now doing any clinical cases. You're doing only big cases, no lab, which I handed over to one of my technicians, Rajesh, who's doing fantastic job. Why are you doing it? So the only answer with me was, I want to learn from Christian. I want to be full on digital by February 2019. And it's only to give it to the next generation. I have no motive behind it. I may not earn a single rupee out of all this, but I will see that you guys learn and you guys go ahead with the DSD concept, because it has changed my life forever. A man who struggled with this. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Amazing. That's an amazing story. 6 months laying in the bed, looking at the ceiling. Uh, we hear those stories once in a while. How these bad health moments, they make you stop and reflect and introspectively reorganize the priorities of life. And it's interesting to see, and sad sometimes to see, that if life doesn't give us these super hard moments, we don't stop, right?
Perfect.
We
I
just
agree.
keep going. We keep going. We think we are superheroes. We think we can do anything.
We almost think we are invincible. We are Superman, so nothing would happen to me. You know?
And to be able, and there's another factor. I don't know if it was. I think there's always on this path towards craziness that we see ourselves going, without balance and without prioritizing and without really focusing on what really matters. There's the ego as well. I always think that our ego is one of our worst enemies if we don't control them. And I usually say, we think our egos are under control, and that's the problem. And usually many of the decisions we make to do crazy things and to do more and to achieve more, it's beyond the money. It's beyond the money. There's the ego. We want to be recognized. We want to be remembered. We want to do something special. We want to prove ourselves to other people. We want to shut up the haters. We want to, and that's the ego. And then the problem for me is that I see that we have a tough moment admitting the ego. So usually we say, no, I don't have an ego. And that's a big problem.
That's a big problem.
We all have an ego. And I say, if we are speakers and we like to lecture, we definitely have an ego. Because if you don't have certain level of ego, you don't like to be on stage. If you like to be on stage, it's because you love teaching for sure, and you can do it for good reasons. But there's always a piece there that is because we like to expose ourselves, right? So for me, the first step is to admit, instead of saying, I don't have an ego, I'm humble, bullshit, say, I have an ego, and I have to work every single day to control the ego.
Exactly.
Do you agree with that?
Exactly. Great.
So now what I want to ask you, since we understand in depth now why you are who you are, and why you're so admired with everything you told us and everything you achieved in India, I want to understand a little bit more about the Indian market. What is going on with dentistry over there? What do you see as the next opportunities in your country? I know that many companies, like Invisalign, even like DSD, implant companies, it's of course everybody's looking at India as well, because the market is huge. So what is going on from the business standpoint and from the dental standpoint in India?
All what I'm going to say now, the young Indian dentists who are watching me at this moment would probably be like, oh my God, what is he talking? Because on one hand, Indian economy is growing rapidly. I hope the rapid sustained growth happens in the next 10 years the way it has been. I think it's a circle of life. It's bound to that our economy grows in the next 10 years quite heavily. When I say economy grows on one side, there is this young dentist in India with 300 dental colleges producing almost 26,000 dentists per year for a population of 26,000 dentists per year for a population of 1.3 billion though. So that's a huge population.
Yes.
The problem as of today is only 5% probably Indians visit a dentist.
5%.
Only 5%. The reason, no insurance as of today. Dentist is the...
Dentistry is mainly private in India.
Dentistry is completely private in India and these 300 dental colleges and charity hospitals, something like that. but there's nothing from the government and there is nothing, no insurance. So people have to pay money from their pocket. Dentist, the most hated animal on the planet. Nobody needs him, nobody wants him, nobody desires to go to him. On top of that, he charges. So, things, it's difficult. I can understand with the young generation. But my promise to the young generation today on this show itself in India and all over, probably where economies are growing, just be committed to the profession, keep walking, don't have to run like the mistake what we did. Economy is growing, people will have money in their pockets, and people will eventually start spending on dentistry. And I can prove this. The amount of iPhone users in India is probably, it's the #1 country in the world today with maximum iPhone users. Can you believe this? It has left behind Samsung, and every Indian literally has